What's happening? I'm back here with the Conquest, putting the 5.0 in it. It's been a minute since we did a video on it, but I got a lot done in the meantime. Basically have the engine rebuilt. I got this ready to get the engine into it, and I'll just go over the few things I did to make that happen so far. Obviously the engine's not in it right now, but first thing you gotta do is take the block, place it in here, and measure out where you're gonna put your mounts. Luckily, the 5.0 mounts, the factory ones, if you take the left and right, put them on the right and left, they line up to where you can just drill a couple slots down here on the subframe and fit it in. And she lines up perfect. The slots aren't exactly measured perfectly, what are they called? Distance the same. So you got to measure on the engine, get it straight. One's just a little bit further back than the other. And then I went ahead and rebuilt the engine, soft rebuild. I didn't take the crank or pistons out, but I did all the gaskets, cleaned it up and everything. Just basically almost knew everything on it. Cleaned out the injectors, fuel rail. I put a clutch conversion kit on it because it's traditionally a cable driven clutch throwout. And I put a slave cylinder on it from, I think it's MDL or LMR, whatever company it is. It was like 200 bucks with the bracket and everything. There's two options with that. This one I liked because it's easy to work on. There's also the concentric style, which goes in the bell housing, which is not as easy to work on if it fails. But the nice thing about the concentric is it basically fits perfect without any modifications to the trans tunnel. But with mine, I had to hammer it out a little bit to fit it. So there's a little bit of a dent out on the bottom by the driver's side. And now once I get it in, I'll have to hammer it back out just a little bit for some clearance and bend the gas pedal just a little bit, because right now it's just a little bit of rubbing on that inner well. And then the hard part I did recently was doing all the wiring. So when I got that Fox body in that first episode when I took it out, I didn't take the ECU wiring harness because there was one sitting in the back seat of it, and it was a 93 with the A9L ECU. Now, the wiring harness that I grabbed happened to be a 1987 wiring harness, and that was just bad call on my part for not checking. But the 1987 wiring harness, 1987 wiring diagram doesn't exist really, so it's just a combination of the 86 and the 89 and the 93. It's pretty annoying, but I figured it out finally. Got rid of some of the AC stuff because I'm not running AC. So it's all right here. I took the original bundle apart and labeled everything. It took a little bit of time, but I think this is literally all I need for this engine to run, plus the one that goes on the engine, which is just a couple connectors right here. So what I'm gonna do is feed this through, drill a new hole in the firewall, feed this through, and get it located to where I want, and then I'll go ahead and test wrap the whole thing. And same thing with this, and get the engine in. I think it's ready to go in right now, actually. So from there, once I get it in, there's only a couple things I have left to do, which is a trans mount, which I'm gonna try and find the factory one. I hear that you can use the factory and flip it around. Try to find one of those. The fuel lines, fuel pump, the drive shaft, which I'm gonna get made locally, and hook up the throttle and heater hoses and little stuff like that. So not too long from now, this thing will be running. I'd like to get it test ran first, not all completely hooked up, just test ran. And then I'm gonna eventually get the Mega Squirt for this. It's a plug and play with a pre-tune on it. And that eliminates the MAF sensor, which is something I had to do because the 87 didn't have a MAF sensor and I had to wire it myself. So then I can eliminate that and it'll be a pretty cool running engine. So let's get to work. see. Because these wires will be the power, signals, and ground for the math. And the stock ECU runs with the MAP sensor, but I left them separate because I'm doing the Mega Squirt, which eliminates the MAP sensor, so that way I can just pull them back there and terminate them after I get it running first. Pretty straightforward. So here it is all finished. Looks pretty good. Hopefully all the things line up right, but I'll make it work. So I had to do a couple things on this pinout because the 87 wiring harness was different than the 93 A9L ECU, so a couple pins I had to switch around. I think it was, I have it written down somewhere. One second. There was pin 51 to 38 and pin 11 to 32. And then there's a clutch safety switch on one of these on here. I have it marked, which I have to run to this clutch safety switch, and then the ignition power in from the actual ignition switch on there. Nothing too crazy. I think that there's about like 4 wires overall that cross over from the wiring harness of the 5.0 to the wiring harness of the Conquest, which is safety switches, ignition, power, ground, not even ground actually, and the alternator from the 5.0 to the power side of the harness of this. So I think I'm also gonna put the battery in the trunk, put some more weight in the rear, when it lines up, plus there's not much space up here for a good battery, so we'll run some lines for that, and I think we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna get this in, see how it fits. What's happening? I cut the hole to fit the grommet for the ECU. Right there, there was a existing hole, but made it a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna try and feed the wires through for it. Hopefully we're lucky and everything fits. Actually, I'll probably send, actually, yeah, we're good. It's gonna take a second of figuring this out, but we're gonna get it working. Nice. Not too bad.
There it is, it's fed through. What's up? Yeah, here, you want me to grab them?
Must have got it correctly. I think it's in, right? Seems like it. I made the hole a little bit big, but that's fine. It's fine. There we go. Looks like a factory wire. So this whole thing's gonna be running up, hidden behind the engine. These two come up to the back of the engine. These come around this side. And I think a couple, just one wire goes right here. Barometric pressure. So yeah, I mean, all in all, not many wires, and they're going to be pretty well hidden. So I'm happy. That worked out really well. So we're going to get this thing. Oh, by the way, I just found, I just ordered the fuel pump with filter. I ordered the transmission cross member, the factory one, and the MAF plug, because this didn't have the actual MAF on the harness. So I bought just a little like plug with the wires coming off for like $5. So I can wire it into the existing wires on the ECU or the ones I put on the ECU, so that we can run the MAF. And that's gonna run, I'm gonna run the MAF through here, separate, because the intake's gonna be right here anyway, so, for factory. And then when I'm done with it, get rid of the MAF, pull that back through and get rid of it underneath. Be all good to go. The engine in now. I get a phone call. Engine in my Conquest right now.
Nice.
What about you?
I'm on my way back from my aunt's. I'm gonna swing by and grab the radiator so I can fix it tomorrow.
Oh hell yeah, we gotta go look at that. On the video, we're recording right now. Toby, he made the radiator from scratch. Yeah, check this out real quick. So I bought this Griffin radiator, and it was the perfect dimensions to fit in the Conquest, but the inlet and outlet hoses were on the flip-flop side. So I had Toby block off the originals and weld on in the new spots, and also angle the upper so that it went in. So this now fits basically perfectly for it. It's I think a 2 or 3 row, whatever. I think it's 2 row. Definitely sufficient enough to cool the engine. And this is what's going to be used in the Conquest. It's going to look sick. We're going to paint it black and put the chairs in the front. But he has to take it back and fix one little spot. Anyways, let's get that engine in. I've probably done this 10 times, and every time I do it, I don't get any better at it. This exact setup, engine in this one.
Hey, you're hitting that. So
Alright,
also, you'll notice his upper radiator support is cut out, and we did that.
Yeah, the core support. We did a little reel on that, but I cut that out to make it easier to straight shot this in. It's not impossible to get this in with the core support in, because I've done it before, but it's not fun at all, so it's way easier. Just cut it out. Do yourself a favor. But put it back. Which involves a little bit of work, but so this is a little bit of a game of lowering and raising and lowering and raising. Get over these humps. That wasn't as easy as it looked after like an hour of Jacob and me pushing it in. Finally got it in, lined up and leveled with the frame. And she's looking really pretty. This is getting more exciting every second. I mean, got the engine harness wired up, everything connected. All that's left is really tidying it up. Bending these fuel lines, connecting them to the fuel lines of the original car, throwing on the fuel pump. One thing I didn't mention though, I'm only running an alternator on this. Getting rid of power steering, air pump, AC, so it's just the alternator. I'm gonna end up getting a better alternator like the 120 amp, but I'm going to buy the pulley kit that's necessary for running just the alternator, because otherwise it wouldn't work. So it's a belt, 3 pulleys, V-belt style, and from there, I think it'll be ready to run. So the next episode, it should be running. Check out for that. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Throw some comments in there if you have any questions. Thank you again.